And welcome to this week's Top 5 Security Facts. We're going to begin in Israel, where 2 IDF commando officers were shot and killed by friendly fire this week, reportedly in a case of mistaken identity around a training base. The officers were both identified as company commanders in the elite Egoz unit, Major Ofek Aharon and Major Itamar El-Harar. According to the latest reports, the two were reportedly out on a security patrol around their base just north of the Dead Sea after a training drill, where they spotted a suspicious figure that was in fact another officer, also out on his own security patrol without coordination. Once they encountered each other at close range, deadly fire was opened. But as news of the tragedy emerged, Prime Minister Bennett issued a statement calling it a very sad morning. The two commanders devoted their best years to Israel's security and defense of the homeland. The IDF is investigating the incident, and the necessary lessons will be learned. And Israel's internal Shin Bet security services announced the arrest of 5 Jewish Israelis accused of assisting an Iranian operative to gather intelligence and make connections in Israel. The 5 suspects, 4 women and 1 man, are all Jewish immigrants from Iran or the descendants of Iranian immigrants. The operatives, who went by the moniker Rambod Namdar and pretended to be Jewish, also attempted to convince one of the suspects' sons to improve his knowledge of the Persian language and join a military intelligence unit. The 5 suspects were indicted earlier in the Jerusalem District Court. Could Libya be the next country to normalize ties with Israel? Saudi reports indicate that the interim Libyan prime minister had visited Jordan and met there with Israeli Mossad chief, where the two reportedly discussed security cooperation between the countries. Now, the Libyan prime minister's office has denied that the meeting took place, but back in November, reports emerged that another Libyan candidate, one of their generals, sent his son to talk to Israeli officials about normalization possibilities. That meeting was also denied. And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said this week that the meeting between NATO and Russia over the situation in Ukraine was not an easy one, and that differences will not be easy to bridge, but added that NATO allies and Russia expressed the need to resume the dialogue. The meeting of the NATO Russia Council comes as the two sides are stuck in a deadlock, with fears mounting that Russia could launch an invasion into Ukraine. Moscow has dismissed such claims. However, Russia has been amassing as many as 100,000 troops near the Ukrainian border. And on the eve of the talks, the military began live fire drills in the region, close to the border. Here's what U.S. and Russian officials had to say on the outcome of this week's talks.
It will be quite apparent they were never serious about pursuing diplomacy at all. That is why collectively we are preparing for every eventuality. We have made it clear, and we told the Russians directly again today, that if Russia further invades Ukraine, there will be significant costs and consequences well beyond what they faced in 2014.
The main task of NATO policy and military deployment is to deter Russia, and enormous resources are being allocated for this purpose. They don't conceal that it's the alliance's main purpose. This fact, by itself, deteriorates the attempts to build European security on other principles.
And a large mysterious explosion shook southern Lebanon this week, according to local media. The cause of the blast was not immediately clear. Videos posted to social media showed a huge fireball rising into the night sky. The area is a stronghold of Hezbollah, and heavy weapons are known to be stored in the area's towns and residential neighborhoods. That's it for this week, but stay tuned for the top security news from all around the world.